All right, we are live. For everyone that's already hanging out, welcome back, everybody, to Comic Convos, episode 7. And today's guest, we've got Fire Guy Ryan coming on, co host of Comic Tom 101, works at Mill Geek Comics, and everyone give him a nice welcome. What's going on, Ryan? How you doing today?
I'm okay. A little rushed, but I made it.
Yeah,
Sort of
busy
on
day
time.
for you.
It's kind of life now, I'm realizing.
Life of working at the comic shop.
Yeah, it's like a constant hustle, I guess.
So, what's it like working there? I mean, if I was out in that area, I would definitely love to go check it out. But being currently in Oklahoma, moving back to Pennsylvania soon, opposite sides of the country,
It's a bit of a distance, yeah.
a little bit.
It's it's not bad. It's a lot easier than I was expecting, I guess. Um I was actually just talking today about how long before this, I used to work at a bank, and people would come in, and you'd have to be like, "Well, you thought about signing up for a new savings account or a Roth IRA?" Or I was like
Oh
20
my
years
god, I
old,
know.
trying to talk about like financials with people. But when someone comes in and they're like, "What's a good comic to read?" I've got, I like this and this. Like, give me some suggestions. It's very easy to be like, "Oh, well, sir or ma'am, here's a bunch of graphic novels and stuff. This is my collection. This is my room. This isn't the shop." Like,
I mean, I figured that.
uh,
But I mean, that's pretty cool, though. I mean, that's a hell of a difference. And I don't know how close you are, or if you talk to any of the guys from Dynamite, but on Tuesdays when I have Rex Wang on, we talk about that all the time. Going to the local comic book shop, like that's a huge deal, and a lot of people they're kind of going away from that. They're going digital. They're ordering online, and I mean, in this day and age, you can't really blame them for the convenience. And I mean, some people truly do just like digital over it. But I love going to the shop. Love getting those recommendations, and it's just a cool interaction that you always have every Wednesday for New Comic Book Day.
I am a I'm a big. It's kind of ironic. I don't know if that's the right word, but I'm a big supporter of digital comics too. I really like. I have a problem. Honestly, I
Really
have
big
a
digital
massive
guy.
massive comicsology collection.
Really?
Yeah,
So
it's
is
bad.
Comixology newer?
Um, it's not newer. I'd say it's been around for about at least 10 years or so.
Oh, seriously?
It's certainly newer than like Marvel Unlimited, or like there's a DC version now too. But Comixology is kind of like all all comics.
Because that's an Amazon thing now, isn't it? Amazon bought that?
Unfortunately, yeah.
I think that's the only reason I've even heard of it. I only knew
Yeah.
Marvel Unlimited at the time.
I had a Comixology account long before Amazon came on the scene, but it's it honestly was back when I was working. I was working 7 years at a hotel front desk before I switched over to doing YouTube, Comic Tom, mystery mail call stuff, and I was working overnight, graveyard every night, and there's a lot of downtime, and it's easy to just stand there at the computer and look like you're working, but really you've got Comixology open and you're just catching up on stuff. It's nice for cheating.
I'm not gonna lie, I worked the graveyard shift when I was in the military for probably close to a year. It was horrible. I don't know what your hours were, but mine was 11 to I don't know 7, 8 o'clock.
Every day.
Brutal.
Yep.
I don't know how people do that constantly.
I used to do that and then wait for a few hours for Tom to wake up and then drive over to Comic Tom's and go record several videos in his studio and then go home and sleep at like 2, 3 p.m. and then wake up at 9 p.m. And do the whole thing over again. And I'm glad to be done with that. That's for sure.
That's honestly brutal. That sounds brutal because I can only imagine. So when I started doing these videos and then they started getting a little bit more in depth, the editing takes a long time. I don't know if Tom edits his videos or someone else does it, but I can only imagine how much time goes into those videos, whether it's recording, the editing, just getting the info. I probably takes a hell of a long time.
Yeah, we have two separate video editors that do it for us, thankfully. Tom tried back at the beginning, but he quickly realized it was a time consuming thing, and it'd be much easier and beneficial to kind of have someone on board to help do that for us with us.
That's what I wish I could do at this point, but I just I upgraded from using literally just my phone I started off on that. I moved to an iPad. I used the same exact app. Everyone's like, "Oh, what do you use, Adobe or the other one?" Nah, it's just InShot Pro. Super
Camera,
simple. Yeah, I don't know.
whatever the gallery, the photo editor is. I don't.
That's what it was in the very beginning. I had
Oof.
no idea what I was doing. And then as I started learning more, I took appreciation to, Comic Tom's videos. It's insane the amount of time that I can only imagine goes into that. But when you went from, you said you worked at a bank, then you worked at the hotel, but you went from the hotel to the comic shop. Did you know what you were getting into when you
Oh yeah,
started that job there? So it wasn't
yeah.
like just applied and then it turns into, hey, we make videos. Or do you want to be
Oh
a
no,
part of this?
oh no, no. I was doing both for 2 years, almost 3 years. I was doing
Oh
hotel
wow.
and then Comic Tom mystery mail call stuff, and it just kind of grew and grew and grew. And it was a volunteer sort of thing. I wasn't getting paid for the first couple of years of doing it, and then we reached a certain point where it was like, we think we can match your wage at the hotel. I didn't want to like quit and take a pay cut or anything, so
I don't blame you.
it got to the point where I was like, okay, we are big enough now where we can have you on here full time.
That's awesome. I mean, you
Yeah.
guys have definitely, I don't wanna say exploded, but over just even the last couple of years, I know in the beginning when I first started watching it was probably around 10 to 15,000 subscribers. And I know you guys are what, pushing past 50 now, 55,000?
Something like that. It's around 50, I think. I
That's
haven't I,
insane.
I haven't looked in a while. At a certain point, you got to just stop checking every day because I used to just like, what is it today? What is it today?
Oh my god. I
It's
know. I know that feeling. When I first started doing this too, it was like I'd tell my girlfriend, like, "Oh my god, I got 10 views."
yeah.
And it's like one more subscriber. It was, it was fun and I like what it turned into. I love being able to have these interactions with everybody. And it's cool to have just this, this stream now. This is something new. I wasn't able to really do it the last couple months, but now October hit, I got a little bit of a schedule. November is going to be a much better schedule. So I'm looking forward to doing that more often as well. But as far as just even, being at the shop for a day to day, that's your everyday job now?
I split my time. I'm 20 hours a week at the comic shop, and then the other 20 hours of the week, I am putting the mystery mail call together.
Oh, wow.
So it's a little disjointed at times,
So what
but
goes into just, the mystery mail call? Because I've seen those videos too. I mean, you have a lot of subscribers for that. And by the way,
yeah.
everyone that is hanging out in the chat, all of Ryan's info, his link tree is going to be in the description. Make sure you go hit him up on Instagram. He's got his YouTube in there as well. Obviously, he does the videos with Comic Tom, so follow that too. But everything's in there. So just a heads up.
Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off on that, but
You're
with the
good.
mystery mail
It's
call,
important.
how much, I mean, you just said you split time and time with that. Is that, I know we were just kind of talking about it in over Instagram earlier, but it's a more of the end of the month thing. Do you prepare it at all in the beginning of the month
All the time.
all the time?
Yeah, there's a coworker of mine works 40 hours a week. He's there all the time. That's his main job, and I'm there 20 hours. So, but all throughout the month, we're there bagging and boarding, spot checking collections,
Oh
and
my gosh.
we're waiting right now for our new exclusive. We're getting a variant for the next issue of Thor. Is it going to be
I
a
saw
Ryan
that.
Ryan Stegman variant with Throg on the cover? So once that comes in, we've got to quickly unpack it all. We've got to spot check everything, make sure all the damaged ones are, we don't want to send out ones that are gross. And then we bag and board everything. And then we got to put them into everybody's mail calls. And it's a month-long process all the time. Never stops.
I believe it. Roughly how many subscribers, if you can talk about stuff like that, how many do you think you approximately have doing the mail
It,
call?
it fluctuates up and down every month, but we're usually in the 2,000 range.
That's incredible, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. It started out when we could just put them all together in like a couple hours in Tom's living room on the coffee table or on the floor. And there was like maybe 10, 25 people in the first few months, but now it's like a giant operation. And it's crazy.
That makes a lot more sense. I mean, I guess we should have started with how many, subscribers there are for that. Cause yeah, now it makes sense that it's all a month, 20 hours a week doing that type of stuff.
Yep.
But I mean, even the variants you guys have gotten, they've even gotten better over the last couple of years as well. Some of these variants you've had in the last few months are fantastic. The Wolverine one you just recently had, the Thor one coming up with Throg on it. How do you
Yeah.
go about getting these the variants. I mean, do you reach out to people? Do they reach out to you, say, hey, we would love to do a variant for you guys?
I think it's a little bit of both. It's not my, I don't handle that part, thankfully. I don't do a lot of the higher up, like when Tom, sometimes like when he announced earlier this month, we had a variant for Venom, but that got pushed back to next month. And I didn't know that. I didn't know we were doing a Venom cover. And I found out when everybody else did on Tom's Instagram. I just saw him post it. And I'm just like, oh, cool. Well, that's what we're doing. Like, okay, I'll just work here, I guess. I'll bag it up when it gets here.
Yeah, thanks for the heads up,
Right? It's kind of part of the fun. Sometimes I don't like to know in advance what's coming.
I feel you on that. I mean, I do the Sunday video. It's just a previews. I talk about all the books coming out. I read the descriptions. There's first appearances, the end of the arc, stuff like that. And there's so many times I feel like I'm actually ruining the book for myself. It's like sometimes I just want to go into the issue, just I don't know what's going to happen. But after I read it, it's like, all right, well, it doesn't sound that good. And everyone else might be hyped for it because they didn't actually read it.
I watched your one from this week. It was pretty good. It wasn't too like spoilery.
Yeah, I try not to really get too many spoilers. And then with the top 10 list, that started off in the very beginning when I did those videos, just way too many spoilers. I talked about the entire issue, and to me it was boring as well. Like I can't imagine people were actually watching that in the beginning because I didn't even want to edit it. I just thought, this isn't good. But It's fun now. I'm enjoying it now. It's a little bit different. But speaking of, new comic book day, stuff like that, do you get a chance to read some of your books yet?
No, not a lot of them.
Oh my God, that's a stack.
Yeah. I think this is all. My problem is, that's an old Green Lantern book. That doesn't count. My problem is my memory is so bad that like when issue 2 of a series comes out, I have a box here of like the last issue of everything I'm reading. So I rotate. I keep the most recent issue on hand. So like when Telepaths number 2 comes out, I grab Telepaths number 1. So really, this stack is going to be like at least 50% larger once I get all the older ones.
The other books. I know I at least see Immortal Hulk in there, that big fat book.
That one sticks out, yeah. That's for sure.
I don't know how I feel about... You did read it, though, you said?
I did read that one.
Before we get into the actual issue, how do you feel about, Marvel? It's a $10 book. In my opinion, it feels extremely cheap. Like the paper quality. I've known shops...
Okay.
Even that's what I meant. Like the actual product. Like the Venom book, when that came out, Venom 35, my shop and a few other shops I talked to, they actually had a lot of damaged copies. I know there were some damaged copies of Immortal Hulk as well. And it just, to me, it's because it just feels like it's this thick book, but it's just regular Marvel comic book paper. Very big chances for it to be damaged.
It doesn't feel like... That's one of the reasons I like DC is DC and Indies, honestly. I think Marvel has some of the worst like paper quality that I've
Absolutely.
noticed. Our shipment at our shop this week and last week, ever since they switched over to Penguin distributors, the Marvel books have been mostly destroyed, basically. Like we can't sell them. For my own personal pull list, one of the coworkers at the shop gave me a good copy, like a sellable copy of Immortal Hulk, but when I got there, I went through and flipped through I took a damaged copy for myself and put the good one back so we wouldn't short an actual customer to that book. It's got a little ding on the top, but it's not too bad. I don't care.
See, I usually don't care either. If it's, if I was a shop, I would absolutely care because I mean, you're paying all that money, you're finally getting your shipment in, and can you really hand that over then? Not really.
Yeah, not this one.
No.
I'll take it. So I'd rather make sure somebody else gets a good copy, but
I forget what book it was. My shop, I put all my new comics away. There's another one that came out and all the top left corners were damaged on all of them. And I even went back. I was like, oh man, this one's pretty beat. I might see, if there's a little bit better of a one. I'm going to be honest. They were all mangled.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, that's just such a shame for these books. They're basically all trash, at that point. Can't sell it.
I don't know if it's something special for our shop. I haven't heard any confirmation from any other place, but we earlier this week got a replacement of last week's books, like already, like really quick. They sent out a new batch of last week's books in a much better box, and so I feel like they're quickly learning. Hopefully, like I hope this wasn't just like a weird one-off kind of fluke, but they sent out the box with padding this time, like some extra room in there. So
That's the thing too. I mean, it's a learning experience for a company like that to take on Marvel. I mean, that's a lot for them to take on. I'm not sure if they do other shipments like that. I don't know a lot about that company.
Just lots of like, actual books and stuff. So I don't know why. Like the principle should be the same. You're shipping a paperback book product. Like take care of it, make sure it's packaged well.
Man, you'd be surprised. You've bought from eBay before. You know how some people are going to ship out books. I mean, it's a company, so it's a little different, but
Yeah.
it comes down to the person, however they want to do it.
Pizza box, cereal box,
Little
pizza box.
one of those manila folders with nothing in it, not even a bag and board. It's like, oh my god,
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
Stupid.
What did you think about Immortal Hulk, though? I'm guessing you've read the entire series.
Yes. On digital. I have the whole run on digital, so I'm getting rid of my my single issues of Immortal Hulk.
That's what I'm about to do as well.
I really liked the final issue. I also have learned through conversations with people that I liked the run a little bit longer than most people. Fell off, I think, after 25 when he turned into like Hulk Galactus and started smashing planets, and like that felt like a conclusion. It was very clearly a halfway point in retrospect, but at the time it felt like they should have just ended or something. It felt like they were going to end.
It felt weird.
Kept going. Yeah.
I'm with that group. I tell everybody I thought it was an incredible series up until about 20 to 25-ish. And that, whatever, I think it is 25 with that issue where it's like a white background and he looks very cosmic.
Yeah.
That's the issue where I was like, oh, well, okay. I'll keep going, but
I appreciated that. I like the weirdness. I also like the following arc where he's fighting that weird white thing that like eats people, who like hypnotizes
cool.
everybody. Yeah, and
I can't think of that off the top of my head.
The Roxxon Corporation and the big Minotaur guy and like the kaiju monsters he was fighting for a little while. Like I think Immortal Hulk, it was pretty good for a little longer. But for me, it lulled near the end. Like at like the last 10 issues or so, I just didn't really care. I was ready for it to be done.
I'd say the same thing around 40. They should have been building up with Samuel Stearns, the whole, hell. And instead they kind of went away with it. And then they came back around 46, 47. And they're like, don't forget, we still got, Samuel Stearns' whole arc. And it felt a little rushed to me. A little bit.
And I saw in another video that you did where you mentioned the like the flashback that was in this issue when they flashed way back to like the origins of Gamma, and how you wished. I personally like the fact that it was just here in the very end. I think it made the final issue. It was like a nice balance, because I feel like if it was just a big fight in hell with a bunch of monsters and stuff, like we've gotten that before, but I liked the flashbacks. Gave it kind of like a nice heavy gravitas. Made it, I don't know, I liked it a lot.
I can definitely agree with that. Just, it was a nice balance. We had this nice story. We got a recap from some of these characters. To me, I really like those flashbacks. And that's what I meant by I wish they would have kind of elaborated on that a little bit more through some of the last issues and just built it up a little bit more to, maybe a big fight, maybe a little bit of a story, but I like that.
The fact that that's like the way the book opens too is like, I got chills. I was like, oh crap, we're getting real, like we're getting into it. And it would have been cool to have more of that in like a few earlier issues. I agree, but this is better than nothing. I wasn't expecting that
absolutely. At all. Yeah. I truly thought it was going to be a bad issue. I went in there with low expectations. Wasn't really even hyped for it, but I think I put it at 5 for maybe 6. It was, not a bad issue.
Out of 10?
Out of 10.
Okay. I try not to rank stuff, otherwise I would get too lost. I'm a little OCD, so I would do that like compulsively with like a chart or something and a graph.
The lists are tough sometimes. Yeah. There's just sometimes it'll be one little thing that I'll change it up. But overall, I'd say it was a pretty solid series. I like how it started a lot more, where it was kind of just a horror. He's a monster. He's a myth. But I totally get how Al Ewing had to make a real story out of it. You can't continue on 50 issues of him just wandering from town to town, scaring people, basically.
Yeah. So, I really did love those, like the first like 15 or so issues when it was like terrifying and like scary and gory. Like, I think that's the peak of this story. But I've never read Hulk before. This is my first time reading a Hulk comic. So
That's
it's
probably my
got
first time reading a whole
yeah,
series of Hulk. I've read Planet Hulk, but other than that,
me too. But I don't count
nothing
that.
really. Yeah, I was
Everybody's
gonna
read
say.
that, right? Yeah. I'm excited. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to read the Donny Cates stuff. I also have a bunch of Peter David's run on Comixology that I just need the time to dig into. Like,
I
this is
feel
my
you.
stack. This is my stack for the week, and I haven't started. So I never have time to read older stuff.
I know that feeling. I feel like I'm always up late, either, editing, trying to read something. These books, I mean, I do my best. Speaking of DC, I get lost talking about all this stuff, but I know you're a big DC guy, or at least you're talking a lot more about DC. I
Yeah.
started reading Why the Last Man Omnibus. I'm a huge fan. I think in one day I read like 350 pages of it. Damn. I know, I blew through it. I'm not done with it yet, but it's I don't know. It's a nice switch from the show. I don't know if you watched the show at all either.
Bam! I got
There it
the
is.
I got the absolute. I love this book. I actually just started the show last night. I watched the first 3. I didn't like it.
Really? You
Yeah.
think it's because you read the story first?
Yeah. There's a lot of reasons I didn't like it, I guess. It gave me like Walking Dead vibes in not a good way. Like the show specifically of each. I don't like the Walking Dead show very much. I like the beginning, but I don't know. I didn't. I don't want to get too into the weeds, but like the Why the Last Man show, it didn't like grab me the way I wanted to. I felt like I didn't care about any of the characters, and half of them died at the end of the first episode. Obviously, I mean, you know that going in, but I don't know. I think it's a damn near perfect comic, and I think it lost something going to the screen. And I was nervous beforehand that they were, making it. I know that they tried to do it like 10 years ago or so, make it into a movie or a show, but it didn't work. They didn't get picked up or something, and that always stuck in the back of my head. Like, for some reason they tried this once before and somebody thought it was a bad idea and they pulled the plug. So
I guess that could do it. For me, I don't know how many episodes are out now, maybe 5 episodes, something around there.
Yeah.
I watched the first 3 or 4 before I started reading the book, and I was like, wow, this is really good. And then I bought the book because I was telling my girlfriend, I was like, I actually really want to read this first. I don't want to ruin it for myself. Read all of that and then watched the next episode with her, and I really wasn't that interested in it. I kind of feel what you're talking about, where it's just not the same. They're really skipping out on a lot of important things. I mean, that's bound to happen between a book and a movie or a TV show. There's going to be stuff left out, but the connection just isn't there. I don't know. I don't really know how to describe it either. I'm kind of, like you said, The Walking Dead. It just doesn't hit the same way.
Yeah. I'm also kind of like a snob when it comes to like movies and TV, especially. And the whole time I was watching it, I was reminded of a show that I like a lot more from HBO called The Leftovers, which is about just like a percentage of the population just disappearing.
Did that show ever end?
Yeah, it was 3 seasons.
Oh, it was only 3 seasons. Because that was a book, wasn't it?
It was a book, actually. Yeah.
Cool. So, sorry about that. Continue.
No, you're good. It was just like, it dealt with a lot of the same kind of themes, but it was handled a lot like smoother. Maybe it's because I don't have familiarity with like the source material, and I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna keep watching the show, but I haven't even finished the comic yet either, honestly. So I gotta get on that still.
I'm trying to finish it. I mean, like you said, get busy, things come up.
These are expensive, and I gotta find the last 2. There's the whole book. The whole run is 3 of these gigantic absolute editions. So I'm gonna try and do that.
Now I know, you've seen some of my videos where you said, man, you don't really read DC. You're not too big into DC. I'll give DC this. Their absolutes are incredible. Like, they really are. They've done a phenomenal job on them. I feel like the slipcase, just the quality of the book, it's above and beyond. It's well worth the price, in my opinion. And it's
slipcase. It's like it's dense. It's like it's a weapon. You could kill someone with this if you didn't want to keep it, pristine.
Yeah. The first one I got, I can't remember. I think it was a Batman one. I don't recall off the top of my head. I took it back home to PA, but I was always scared to really open it. I always felt like with the spine being flat like that, I always thought it was gonna rip. Kind
Yeah.
of, I don't know. I was always a little nervous with the absolutes, but man, they're gorgeous.
I found a video from Gem Mint where he demonstrates the proper way to like stretch a spine on a hardcover book. So that's something I do when I get like any one of these like nicer hardcovers. Sit there and flip the pages and make sure the spine gets stretched out so you don't ruin the spine, which happened to my volume 1 of Saga down here. Like I didn't know that back when I got that book, and the spine is trashed on that, unfortunately.
I only because you brought him up. Every time that I used to watch one of his videos with an omnibus, that's actually how I got into collecting some of these omnibus. I was watching his videos,
I see back
and
there.
that
Yep.
was such an essential. He always, stretch that spine. And he said it every single video. I don't know if
Yep.
he still does. I can't keep up to date with all the stuff he's doing now. Man's killing it.
Seems like he's mostly statues now.
That's what I get. He gets a lot of cool statues. He still does obviously he's got something with Rock and Robbie. He does his reviews as well. But man, those statues, those are insane.
Yeah, pass. I mean, I'm okay with like some Green Lantern things, but I can't go hard like he's doing.
No, even if I could afford it, I mean, this is a tiny room right now. I don't even know where I would put anything.
Yep, I'm good.
I like my
channel.
hardcovers.
Yeah, exactly.
But since you did bring up Saga, I was looking at it before. I wasn't sure if that was Paper Girls. I couldn't tell too easily. What do you think about Saga?
I like it.
I've got my I got mine here, the compendium, but I haven't had an opportunity to read it yet.
Oh, okay. I have only read the first 2 of these. I have not cracked open the third one yet, so I don't. I think I know what happens at the end. There's like a big spoiler in the last. Well, it's not the last issue, but the most recent issue, I guess. I like it. I just don't love it as much as everybody else does.
People that love it, they seem to love it.
And it's Brian K. Vaughan. I think he's potentially the greatest modern comics writer. But something about Saga, I feel like at a certain point in the storyline, it gets a little too big, and like there's a lot going on and a lot of. It's fun, and I think it's you should sit down and binge it like all at once. I couldn't have kept up with. I don't look forward to. It's going to be on my pull list when it comes back, and I don't look forward to reading it month over month. Like I think collected format is the best way to go with Saga.
I was gonna say I might not actually put it on my poll list. It's something I really do want to read, but a story like that, I don't know. It seems like it's a lot. It's the same kind of with Paper Girls. I don't know if you read that.
First trade.
If I was reading that month to month or every other month, whenever it would come out, there was no way I'd be able to keep up. It's just some issues, not a whole lot happened, but I don't know. It's much better read just all at once.
Yeah. He's one of my all-time favorite writers. He's not doing. I don't think he's doing anything right now. I guess he's doing Saga, like he's working on that, but I don't know what else he's got going on right now. I don't
think he has anything.
Yeah,
not 100% though.
If I were to do a list of all-time favorite writers, he would be on there, but not a current writers list.
I know. You said you were watching Nerd King's episode, so you got a top 5 or at least a top 4?
You guys were like hyping on Jeff Lemire, and like,
I love Jeff Lemire.
Something is wrong with me because I don't know. Like I've got Gideon Falls, but other than that, I can't think of like what I'm missing. Like I don't get it. I guess I haven't read Black Hammer, so maybe that's part of it.
To be honest, I haven't either.
So like, what else does I just don't know. I don't know a lot. I guess.
Did you read Sweet Tooth?
Yeah.
I was a fan of Sweet Tooth. I actually read that whole compendium in like 2 days.
I read the first trade or 2, and it was good, but it was right around the same time as the show was coming out, so everybody was hyped on Sweet Tooth, and I get really like grumbly and like, I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to watch the show because it's popular. And so I never watched the show, and so I sat down and like read the book begrudgingly, and I think that poisoned my estimation of the series. I gotta read the whole thing. It was cute. It was touching, but like it didn't pull me in the way I wanted it to.
The show, to me, I actually really didn't like it that much, only because I read it first, and I was telling my girl, I was like, yo, this is really good. I'm excited to watch the show. And then I heard the show really wasn't the same as the book. It was kind of more lighthearted, and it really took it away because it's not really that light of a book. It's pretty dark. There's a lot of death, especially in the very beginning of it. And they just didn't hit any of that.
I felt the same way about Lock and Key too. Like that comic was very horror focused and scary, but the show was like for kids. It was like a '90s kids movie.
I actually didn't want to watch the show for that reason. I want to sit down. I think that whether they library editions, I think they have for Lock and Key.
Yeah, they're not bad. I
I
got the
think
first
that's
one
the
here.
only one I have.
Yeah, me too.
But
First two trades.
yeah, so for that, I didn't watch the show. I heard Lock and Key is just too good, and everyone said the show's just not comparable to it.
The show's good, but it's definitely like a completely different genre. It's like they just decided to make it family friendly.
That's a shame. I get
Yeah,
it, but
it
sometimes you just can't
works.
do it.
Yeah,
That's one of those things we've talked about with Rex, with the Dynamite guys. They have to really try to, you know, please everybody. You've got the comic readers, you got the movie watchers, and can you really? You need to try to have that nice in between. And to me, a lot of times it doesn't really work. Marvel movies, obviously, everybody loves those movies, and it's cool to see people going back and checking out the comics now too. But a lot of those moviegoers probably aren't going to be sitting down and getting caught up on some of these characters. They're just going to wait for the next movie. So
yeah. Unfortunately, I was hoping there'd be a lot more crossover in that. Like, oh, let me go check out some of these comic books. Doesn't really work that way.
no, especially with some of even the Marvel TV shows. I mean, they've all been fantastic, and I like how people try to spec on it, like, oh yeah, this episode introduced this character, but in reality, is that character really playing a big part in the show? Is this character, is that arc going to happen in the show? Probably not. It's just the character now being in the show.
Yeah, it's kind of how I feel about like Civil War is a good example. Like the comic and the Captain America movie are like wildly different.
Extremely.
And they work in different ways. And they're both great, but they're not at all the same thing.
I can agree with that. Same with one of the examples I always use is what's it called right there? Umbrella Academy. The read was okay. I actually thought they did the show was actually pretty good. It
I
was
like the show
different.
more.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
nice in its own way, but you knew kind of where it was going to be going if you read the book, but still at the same time pretty different. But I think they did it justice. The show, in my opinion, I thought the show was pretty good.
I only saw the first season, but I liked it more than I liked the first trade.
I can agree with that. It was very weird. But I mean, Gerard Way, that's probably one of his first things.
He's weird anyway, so
I'm not gonna lie.
That's what you get with his comics.
I believe it. My Chemical Romance actually probably one of my favorite bands.
Oh, there you go. It was one of my brother's favorite bands too, so I was always like, ugh.
Yeah, they're coming back around again.
Apparently.
That like reunion tour. I think tickets are like $300 in Jersey.
Ooh. Pass.
I'll tell you what, I'm gonna pay for it. That's a
I could buy
teenage AR Comics. Gotta have it.
That's like 2 Absolute books right there. Like I could do that instead.
That would be a good experience though.
I've never been to a concert.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm kind of like musically indifferent.
You
I
do
like
like
music.
though.
I like music in the car, like when I'm like going somewhere, and I don't want to listen to silence. But when I'm reading, like if there's music on or a song playing, or I can't focus on one thing. I have to listen to the song or read the page, and like music will just distract me.
Well, I'm definitely with you on that, especially like in college, you sit with everybody and they all got headphones in, music on. No, couldn't do that. Can't do both, one or the other.
Yep.
But going back, I'm sorry, you can go.
Who did you guys say were your favorite writers in this show the other day? You mentioned Jeff Lemire.
James Tynion, 100%.
Okay. Yeah, he's number one for me right now.
I mean, he's killing it. I mean, I got, Something's Killing the Children as the background right now. Erica Slaughter. How do you feel about that series?
I like it. It's probably my third favorite James Tynion book, though.
What's the other ones?
Nice House, Department of Truth, Something's Killing the Children, and then Batman Joker.
I can agree with that. I think for me, it would probably be Nice House on the Lake. And then, I mean, I love Something's Killing the Children and Department of Truth. That's a hard 2-3 right there. I might have to put Something's Killing the Children above Department of Truth, but man, I'm a sucker for conspiracy stories.
Me too. And I'm a weird kind of like it doesn't get advertised very much because obviously you don't want to mix politics and comic books. But I have a big like political side of me too. I like political stories in comics. So like all of the conspiracies that he's talking about in something in Department of Truth, they hit with me on a different level because I'm familiar with a lot of like the background that he's talking about there. So I appreciate that element of it. It's a very well researched comic, and I love the art in that book too.
Very unique.
Martin Simmons.
I was gonna say that's the same one as Philadelphia, correct?
No, but
No,
I haven't read that. I don't believe they're the same artist.
it looks the
Uh,
same or close,
I
similar, I
have
should
that on
say.
Comixology, but I just have not gotten into it yet. That's like top of my list right now. I really want
I,
to read that.
I think Philadelphia is really good. I think you're smart, kind of holding off on it just a little bit. It's it really progresses, and this last kind of arc, maybe even kind of a new volume, they kind of switch things up a little bit, but it's gotten pretty in depth. It's a hell of a story.
They like to talk about it a lot on my weekly live show that I do on Fridays with Bearded Comic Bro and Will the Beast and everybody. Like Philadelphia comes up like every time that issue comes out, and I'm trying to be like, I don't want to hear it. Like I'm trying to still, I don't want spoilers. I'm going to read it soon, but
At some point.
so for me, I would put James Tynion at number one, and number two is probably Tom Taylor. I don't know. You guys were talking Cullen Bunn, and
I like Combone a lot too.
he I'm getting Harrow County like in hardcovers. I really enjoy that book, but I was really burned on what's his book that he's got right now?
He's got
Basilisk.
Basilisk. Yeah, Basilisk.
I don't enjoy that.
Really?
Yeah, I'm kind of disappointed. I wanted to like it, and I did like the start of it, but Basilisk is kind of just. I don't feel like there's a good direction. I don't know where it's going. If I knew how long it was going to be, I'd be more okay with it. It feels like a mini series.
See, I totally agree with that. And that's something I used to bring up all the time is that initially I'm almost positive it said that it was going to be a 5 or 6 issue mini run. So
Perfect
as I
then.
was
Okay.
reading it, I hit the 5th or 6th issue, whatever it was, and I'm thinking, yo, this isn't going to end. And if it does end, it's going to have a horrible ending. And then the last issue hit and it wasn't over. And a lot of people are commenting, and I looked it up too. And it is, I guess, continuing on. I don't know if it's an ongoing or maybe 10 issues, 12 issues. I have no idea either, but it's not initially what I thought they said it was going to be.
It's a story that feels like it should have a definite like beginning, middle, end, and like I want it to be finite, but I get the sense that it's not, and I don't know what sort of story it's building towards, and it's not what I wanted, I guess. I really love the art though, and I really want to like the entire book. It's just not really doing it for me. So I can't. For me, for somebody to be a favorite writer of mine at the moment, they have to have at least like 2 books that I'm like in love with, and I would put Chip Zdarsky on that list also
Yes,
for
fantastic writer as well.
Daredevil and Stillwater, especially, is one of my favorite books right now, and not enough people are talking about Stillwater. I'm actually next time I'm going onto the Comic Tom channel, we're going to be talking about Stillwater. We're going to break that down and give it some love because there's not enough people talking about it, and it's definitely one of my favorites.
That's good that you like it too. I mean, so I've talked to a lot of people about it. In the beginning, I loved it. And I always talked about where can it really go if they're going to truly keep it here in Stillwater. And he kind of answered those questions with, I mean, I'm not really going to get into too many spoilers, but bringing in that new group that's kind of, trying to do their thing. But one thing that kind of turned me off was with the kids when they found the main character, and it was kind of like that little treehouse city that they had. I was
It's
thinking,
like an Ewok village.
yeah, I was like, no one knew this was here. How long has
Yeah.
this been here? And they're all like, it's okay. Nobody knows about it. It's on the city outskirts where all these people are. I'm sure they even saw you.
Yeah, you would think they would have that city pretty well like mapped out, and like if everybody's never leaving because they'll start to age again the minute they leave, right? So like I feel like the borders especially would be pretty secured. It's not the most plausible book in the world, but it feels to me like it's I can see the TV show already in my head.
Oh,
And
absolutely. I mean, I'm
I'm,
invested in it. I'm ready.
yeah, I'm not like financially invested. I've only got 1 copy of each issue, but I really love
Yeah.
it. And
Or I guess mentally,
okay,
mentally invested.
I thought you meant you got like 10 copies. I'm ready to go.
No,
Might not be.
personally, I get cover A, first print. If I really like it, I might get cover B. And if they have like an extra print of like, I mean, I know Donny Cates did it with Thor and Venom, where he would start having extra prints and they would throw a cool panel from the inside cover on the, front cover. I got some of those, but for the most part, I don't really hoard books. I don't get a bunch of copies of one. Even Something Is Killing the Children, I loved it. I only had cover A and cover B. Well, and the Jenny Frison one.
Yeah, and once I got my hardcover pre-ordered, I sold my copies a couple weeks ago. Like,
Smart move.
Yeah, it's nice. Like it's a good chunk of change, but like I want the hardcover. I feel kind of antsy. Like I don't have any of it right now, and I want like I have the last 4 or 5 issues, like the current story arc, but I want the hardcover. Like I'm ready.
You pre-ordered it for that was it the black slip case, which is the mask on it?
Yeah.
See, I should have that pre-ordered. I went to my shop and I'm hoping that they actually put it through.
I'm nervous. I'm nervous because like if there's any damages for whatever reason, as an employee of the shop, like the same thing I had with like the Immortal Hulk, like I feel bad taking one of the good copies if we get like damages or not enough. Like I don't want to be like, oh, you guys,
sorry,
it's one of the perks. Yeah, exactly. I can't do that.
I mean, so we got super quick. We did get a question. Obviously, you just said that you sold your set off. I'm still holding on to mine. I love the series. I absolutely love it. I was talking about to some of my friends. I said, I feel like I would, I'd be upset if I sold it. It's clearly selling for a lot of money. Hell, you can probably get a month and a half worth of rent out of it, but
I did pretty well. Yeah. This is my first time ever selling a book. So like take that into account. But for me, I feel like, isn't it going to get more valuable once like a trailer for the show comes out and once the show like starts to actually get hype and like once more people are like looking for the actual comic and as a collectible, like I can imagine it could still go up. But again, I am not the person to talk to about like value or flipping books or specking or any of that stuff. That is not me. That is not my role on the Comic Tom channel anyway.
He's here to talk about Stillwater.
Exactly. The story in Something Is Killing the Children is fantastic. So if you like hardcovers like I do, then, by all means, get rid of the single issues like I did and just flip it into the hardcover because it's going to look so good.
Oh, it definitely will. If I get my hardcover, I'll probably move on from the series. I've been thinking about the same thing for Gideon Falls. I have that whole set and I don't have the volume 1 hardcover. If anything, I'm going to maybe wait for volume 2 to come out and I'll get them both and then I'll move on from the series. Because, at least then I have the whole thing if I want it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just have a hard time moving on from certain books.
For me, like single issue, like I hate calling them floppies because that always makes me like kind of grossed out. But it's my least favorite way to read a comic. Like, and I know you're not supposed to say that, but they're so fragile, and I worry so much about like damaging them or bending them. Or when Nice House on the Lake issue 1 came out and that twist happened halfway through.
Oh yeah.
I was just holding the book in my hands and I just kind of like, I had to like breathe and process. And I was holding the book the whole time. And I didn't realize until I closed it. I got the cardstock variants for all of those and like the glossy paper. And it was covered in fingerprints. So it set off all my like alarm bells. Like that's going to be a nice hardcover someday. So I can't wait to get that version of it. Like, clearly, I like absolutes. I want to have the nicest version possible of a comic.
That's how I feel.
And the $3-4 single issues is always.
I know.
I like displaying them.
I feel the same way. I mean, you could say slap it then, but that's unnecessary for a lot of things.
Yeah,
people slap things just to say they slabbed it. They slabbed some freaking random book, but it got a 9.8. So people say, oh, it's value. It's 9.8. Not for me.
If I was more of a comic seller person, I would maybe start to get things slapped. But for now, I'm a strictly raw person.
Nice. I mean, that's what my shop at home does. They get, if it's any sort of reasonable book, they send out every other week, I think, a couple hundred slabs or 100 raw books to get slabbed.
Yeah, they're doing something like that at Mill Geek too. Like, there's always things going out, things coming in.
Yep.
CGC.
Yeah, I mean, can't blame them for doing it. If the value's there, if people are buying it, Why not? But totally agree. Hardcovers, in my opinion, are the way to go, or just a trade paperback in general.
Yeah, that's like one step above of a single issue for me. I would put digital above trades myself, but
I can't hop on the digital trend. My other friend said he almost sold his entire collection and moved on to Comixology.
I think
He
it's
just
one part of the ecosystem. I like all of this. The ways to read a comic are good in combination with each other, and I think digital works really well for me personally. If I'm like really into a book and I want to go to the bathroom, I'll like bring my tablet in there with me, and I won't worry about like splashing water on a page of a book, you know. Or if it's really late at night and I want to turn all the lights off and read while I'm in bed, like I can read on my tablet instead of having to like angle a book and catch the light. And
oh my god, I know that feeling, especially with the Why the Last Man Omni. It's so enormous, and it's
yeah,
just kind of sitting there on. I don't know. I've got dogs, and I wanted to lay
that
down
too.
last night, put it on the sofa, and I was like, man, this book's just too big. I can't do this.
That's part of it. Yeah, there's upsides and downsides to every format.
Super quick though, Anthony, thank you so much for the donation. I really do appreciate it. He says Jenny Frisen's art is so good. Absolutely agree. Those covers are just if there's a Jenny Frisen cover, I gotta get it. And I know she's killing it on DC. She had the Catwoman one. I know she had a Wonder Woman one. Pretty sure Batman had one pretty recently too.
Probably.
But
She's
the
been doing
Catwoman
like
one stood out.
she's been doing a lot of Catwoman variants lately, and she's somebody like if I see her name as an option for a variant, like that will
Yep.
entice me. I got a Rorschach variant of hers. That's my most recent Jenny Frisen cover.
Nice. My shop knows the same thing. It's like whenever I call or anything, they're like, "Hey, do you actually want the Frisen cover?" Yes, I actually would.
Yeah, dumb question, sir. Of
But
course.
thank you. So to circle back just a little bit, because it's cool to know that you're a huge fan of Nice House on the Lake as well. So that last issue, I'd say that's probably one of the most important issues of the series. Um,
Trying
with
to
that twist,
trying to think back.
uh,
Oh yes, okay, yeah, okay, I remember now.
I was gonna say, all right,
Took
guys,
me a
there's
minute.
definitely gonna be a spoiler. Turn it down for like 5 seconds. But when they kind of found out that
Right.
someone else is there, yeah,
Yeah, I
that was
remember that.
crazy.
I love that book because every issue finds a way to kind of surprise me. And
Yes.
I don't really get that feel. Like the last thing that made me feel that was Lost back in high school. I was watching that show every week and
Oh my
obsessing over
god.
it.
Until that ending happened.
Even that, like, I'll fight you. Like, I love that show, and the ending, I think, is really good.
I spent years on that show, man. It's the same as Game of
Ah,
Thrones.
that's nowhere near the same. Game of Thrones completely lost the plot at the end. Like,
That
that's
was I
bad
actually get
news.
angry talking about that. That
Right.
ending was just
I am a Game of Thrones book person, and the once they ran out of books to use and they had to make up their own like ending to the show, you can clearly tell when they had to start doing it themselves, and it, nothing like Lost. Lost was good. Lost was good all the way through, in my opinion.
I agree with that. It was
It
the
stumbled a
ending,
little bit at the very end. I'll give you that, but I like it
but I
as a
agree.
whole. I think it's the closest thing I've seen to Nice House on the Lake. They're very similar, and the fact that I love it when a book has a deadline. I love knowing that it's going to be 12 issues and that it's specifically crafted with the ending in mind and that each chapter really has something to say.
I can agree with that. Man, the way he's setting up that story is just every issue, they're focusing on a different character and he's killing it. It's phenomenally written. The artwork's fantastic. And it's like they're focusing on this character, basically saying why they're important, why they're there, but they're still giving everyone else's perspective. But the story is basically from that specific character's perspective. And it's just so unique.
And it also makes it when you go back and read older issues, now that you spent time with some of the characters from the later issues, you kind of when you read the first issue and you're thrown into it and there's 12 people and you have no idea who anybody is, it's like overwhelming. That's okay. It's a whole conversation lost. But when you go back and read the first issue of Nice House on the Lake again, which I would recommend doing if you haven't gone back and retried it, like now that you're kind of familiar with some of the other characters a little more, it makes the whole thing like work on a different layer.
So where do you think they're going with it? How do you think it's gonna kind of play out?
I have absolutely no idea. I honestly haven't even thought about it. Like, I'm enjoying the ride so much that I don't want to think about the end. I'm already stressed out that it's going to go on hiatus after the next issue. Like, I don't like that. But I respect that they need to to get ahead of the game and make sure all the issues come out on time.
I can agree with that. And just make sure, because what are they on, book 5? Book 6 is the next one?
6 is the next one, and then it's going to be out until March, I think.
It's not horrible, but it's pretty horrible.
At least it's not like Saga, where we have to wait like 3 years. Like,
That's crazy. I can't imagine with those fans.
right? Like, no, just end it. If you're just saying we'll come back eventually, I don't know when, but trust us, we'll be back.
I think that's probably why I actually never started Saga. I mean, everyone said just get the compendium. All the issues are in there. And I was always, well, is it over? No, it's not over though. Oh, well, what am I going to do? Read it and be stuck like you guys?
That's part of the reason I haven't like gotten current yet either, because I know that it ends with a big twist, and like I don't want to be like just sitting there waiting like for, and then you're waiting and you get one issue. Like, it's not even going to be enough when whatever.
It's hard. I mean, it's the life of comic books. We all do it to ourselves.
The trick is just making sure your pull list is like 20 books every week. So when you get your comics, you always got something to look forward to every week.
I don't know how some of you guys do that. I get usually 10 books, sometimes 12 books. And even then I'm like, oh my God, this is a lot of books.
It is. It helps that it's like technically my job. And I have to know a lot of this stuff. So that's a good way to justify it.
I was going to say, that's the excuse. Well, I need to read it. I need this.
I have to know.
I have to tell everybody. That's what my shop says. I was like, man, you read all these already? He's like, I'm the owner here. I got to read it. I got to tell you which ones to get and don't get. I was like, all right, cool. I respect that.
I try to read at least a couple issues every Wednesday before the shop opens. I try to like get the ones I'm most excited about. Like this week I read Batman the Imposter and Immortal Hulk like before opening the doors, just to make sure I could be like, read this. Get it. Like, yeah, buy this book.
What'd you think about Batman and the Imposters?
Fantastic.
Really? I heard it was really good.
You're not reading it? It's DC, so I guess not, right?
Yeah. All right. So the last DC book I read was reading Nightwing. I gave up on it though. It was good. It's kind of, I missed out on one issue, and then it turned into one of those factors where it's like, well, now I need to find the back issue. I'm not going to get the new one. That happened. Joker wasn't bad. I kind of lost a little interest in it. Robin wasn't bad either. Same thing though.
I haven't read Robin, but Joker's my least favorite James Tynion book. I don't really like it that much.
I thought it started off really good. I'd say issue 5 was like a standalone, but 6 kind of, I don't know. 6 was probably it for me. I don't think I went past 6.
I know James Tynion's going to leave the Joker book pretty soon. I think issue 12 or 14 or something like that. I think
12's the actual whole series.
Okay. Either way, I'm done with it when he's done. I don't know if I want to keep going on the Joker.
It's
not my favorite.
One of those things.
I'm surprised on Nightwing though. Like for me, Nice House on the Lake, I don't even count that as a DC book technically, but for me, Nightwing I think is the top superhero comic at DC. And then I honestly rank the new Superman book right below that, and they're both written by Tom Taylor, which earns him my number 2 spot.
Superman wasn't that good though, huh?
I really like it. It's I also have a soft spot for Superman though. I have to preface that and say, like, I know he's not everybody's cup of tea, and it's hard for people to give him a chance because he's Superman. But if he's written well, then you can get like feelings from that book that not a lot of other comics can do.
Now I know, only because we're talking about Superman, someone made a comment earlier. I can't find it. It's about what they're doing with the new Superman. I'm not reading it. And I saw everybody on Instagram, Facebook groups, they're all throwing a fit about it. I'm going to be honest. It's up to people, whatever they want. I don't care. If it's a well-written book,
yep.
Why should that bother you? You know?
It would only bother me if it suddenly switched gears like drastically and became like a porn or something. Like no matter who he's dating, put it that way. Like if it just like became like a romance book or like completely switched gears, but it's 3 issues so far, and his love interest has been introduced already. And I got the vibe before that, like, I think they're setting something up with this guy. It's like they kind of had a little flirtation going on when they first met, but like it's being handled pretty well so far, and I'm interested to see where they go with it. But that's not even like the main focus of the comic for me. Like,
It shouldn't be.
yeah, it's not the main focus. They're just kind of honestly overblowing it a little bit, just to make headlines. Honestly, which take it or leave it, I guess. But the comic is good, I think.
That's good at least. I mean, obviously, I'm not reading it, but reading the solicitations for it, I kind of saw it was going that way. I mean, if you look at some of the covers, I mean, you could kind of think it could be going that way. And it's just, I mean, it's like a lot of these comments are saying too. It's like, who cares? You know, people just throw fits about anything.
I think when the trade for this book comes out, I would say this is probably a good like first Superman book to give. If you've never tried Superman, this would be a good first one to try.
The Son, I believe the series is called Son of Kal-El, right? Is it that one?
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
especially because it's still pretty. It's very recent. Issue 4 isn't out yet, so it's. I mean, it might be hard to find the back issues now, but it shouldn't be too hard to track down, or at least get the first trade when that comes out in a couple months.
I think that's the super funny thing too. So people are outraged about it, but at the same time, people are buying up all the issues and flipping them for what it is. So it's like, come on now, what is it?
Can't be that outraged.
Yeah, if it's making you money, who really cares?
I guess.
Well, for those people. But so we're still on the DC trend. You know, you're filling me in on some stuff. You know, let me know about some of these. One of the other ones, I'm gonna be honest, I love the DC horrors. Like they just came out with what was it?
Soul Plumber?
Soul Plumber. I kept thinking Plunger for some reason. I was like, I know it's not Plunger.
That would be an interesting title.
Soul Plunger?
Yeah. You just suck it on someone's face and you just their soul right out their mouth.
I thought that was a cool issue. I think this coming week we have was it basket full of refrigerators or refrigerator full of heads. No.
There you go.
Last year that title full of heads.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that one. I didn't know they were going to make a sequel to that book. It wasn't my favorite thing in the world, the basket full of heads, but I'm interested to see how they like develop that story moving forward.
See, I like the beginning of it, but I feel like once we got to the middle, it kind of did this weird comedy spin, or it started to get a little bit more funny, and it wasn't horror anymore.
Yeah.
So it was a turn off to me. I still read it all. I thought all those Joe Hill House ones were awesome.
I enjoyed
Dollhouse.
Yeah, I got all of them as they were coming out.
They were fun. So that's what I look forward to. I know the Conjuring, I think, just wrapped up. That was 5 issues.
I really liked that. Like I didn't expect I just got that because I love horror and I wanted to like buy a horror comic, and I like the movie well enough, but I didn't think the comic would be good. I went into that expecting to not like it, and I was kind of surprised.
Cool. Those are always the best.
Yeah.
So I didn't pick it up because I'm pretty positive it said in the description that it was a sequel to a different Conjuring series. So I didn't pick it up.
It's supposed to tie into the movie, the most recent movie, which I didn't realize until the very end. At the very end of the last issue, and they're like, make sure you follow, check out the Conjuring 3 to see what happens next or something. So it's like a prequel, or you don't need to know the movie at all. It's a perfectly fine standalone story about like a girl going off to college and like getting possessed.
Damn, that kind of sucks. That's why I didn't pick it up, because I thought it was. I mean, I didn't see the movies either. I only saw the first one. But either way,
second one's not bad. I didn't see the new one though. They're fine.
Maybe I'll have to give it a shot. It's Halloween, spooky season.
I'm not the biggest fan of like ghost possession stories either, which is why I was surprised that I liked the book. I didn't think that the comic was going to be for me, but it's a good read.
Cool.
Not a great read, but a good read.
Good read.
Yeah.
So what other stuff do you read? I mean, obviously, DC fan. We were talking about indies a little bit. Is there any indie company that's like your go-to? There's a brand new ongoing or new mini series. Got to get it.
AWA.
Yes, AWA is phenomenal.
I looked at I love how on the back of their books they show everything they're doing that month, and this is the first month where I'm getting everything. Like I've been on board like most of their comics forever, but I don't know, and like I can't explain what kind of like Satan deal they made with the devil to like make every book perfect. But
I know they're all phenomenal.
They're so good. I didn't really enjoy the new one. I didn't like
The
ETER
ET?
that much. It wasn't my thing, but it was. Maybe I need to give it another shot. Like, I didn't appreciate the one shot element of it. If I knew it was going to go on and like develop a little more, I'd be into it. But it just felt kind of like quick and like it's not because it was like two books in one.
Yeah.
So I wasn't as attached as I wanted to be.
That's funny you said that. I said the same thing in my video. I said, it really wasn't bad. It's not for me. I was like, maybe if
Right.
you're a healthcare worker, maybe if that's like your thing, you might like it. I don't particularly care about it.
I'd
So
like there was a scene in the first story in there where like a guy pulls a knife in the emergency room or something and like takes someone hostage, right? Doesn't he like take a doctor like hostage and like
in the
has like a
beginning,
breakdown? Yeah.
yeah.
It made me want to show it to some people I know who are like nurses or something and be like, here you go. Here's, this is what you guys go through. I'm sure.
I'm sure I was gonna say, I'm sure they do. I'm sure that's a normal day, maybe an ER.
I have no idea. I've never thought about it. That's too much pressure for me. Oh God.
But I'll tell you what, AWA, I didn't read Telepass 2. They didn't my shop didn't get any of their orders in, so I'm gonna be getting that book next week.
It's in my
But
stack.
man,
I haven't read it yet either, but I really love the
they're
first one.
they're on it. That whole J. Michael Straczynski, he's making this entire like reborn world, and now all these other series are kind of falling into place with the reborns. It's incredible.
Yeah, he's writing Moths right now. Are you
Yep,
reading that one?
I did.
That
Well,
book is
yeah.
like an experience. Like I put that book down and I'm like, I need to go outside and like take a walk and like enjoy my life. Like it makes me like really appreciate the fact that like your time is limited and you're gonna die at some point. Like
And the whole thing, her powers is emotions. Well,
right?
she can make people feel. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
It's I love it when comics can just like make you feel things that other comics can't do, or even other books or movies or something. It's like comics have a very special window kind of into different emotions. That book particularly.
The only problem I have with it, and it's not truly even a problem, is that when I talk to it about people, it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't think that you personally could probably jump into it
Yeah.
because you have no knowledge of any of it. You got to read the Resistance, then you got to read Resistance Uprising, but Moths ties directly into Resistance Uprising. Erratic ties into it slightly, and I think there's another series or two as well, and it's like you need to read it, but there's too much for a new reader to really hop into. It's
The
overwhelming.
I know the first volume of Resistance is available on Comixology Unlimited. If you subscribe to like the premium version of Comixology, you can read that for free, which I did. I think the second one is also free. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I read both volumes of like Year Zero on there. The first wave of all the AWA books is all free with Comixology Unlimited.
That's awesome.
So I went in because I didn't get on AWA. I got Hotel, which was like one of their first books. I got it because I worked in a hotel, and that was my first like dabble with AWA. And it wasn't until after that that I kind of tried a bunch of other books they were doing. So I missed a lot of the early stuff.
Did you like Hotel?
I did. I want to go back and try it again because I feel like I missed something or other people liked it more than I did. And now that they're doing the second series of it, I want to
I was going to
refresh
say there's a
myself.
volume 2. I
Yeah.
think it's definitely worth the reread. I enjoyed it. And this is just a quick announcement for everyone that is in. I'm still finalizing the date, but John Lees is going to be coming on this channel. I believe it's going to be November 5th. I think no confirmation yet, but I believe it's November 5th at 11 a.m. because he's currently over in the UK. So there's a little bit of a time difference. And I'm obviously going to accommodate to him to be on here.
No,
So
you do what I say. Mr. Published comic book writer. You're like, yeah.
I told him, I said, hey, whenever you are good, you tell me a time and we'll make it happen. Because it's always an honor to have a writer on. I mean, it's always such a unique experience. I mean, we could talk about all day, Tiny and for me personally, Lemire and then Colin Bunn, but everybody has their own unique way to write a story. And I always feel bad saying like, oh, I didn't like that. It's always more of, it's not for me.
Exactly. That's how I felt about, speaking of AWA, Bite-Sized, Colin Bunn.
Yes.
Like, it was a fun little robot story, and it reminded me of like a kind of psycho Wall-E or something, like Toy Story mixed with Wall-E.
Say, Toy Story kind of reminds me of Toy Story, but obviously not.
It was like a demented little children's comic almost, like with these killer robots, but it's a happy little kid's book. So like, it wasn't for me. I got it because it said, like, robots are coming alive, and like that's more my thing. I like AI type stories, like Not All Robots is another
I was
great.
gonna ask you about that one then
Yep,
too.
that's a great AWA book.
It really is.
They're just phenomenal. I think every time I go on the Comic Tom channel, I try to bring like one AWA title to try and push out into the world and get more eyeballs on.
They truly deserve it. Like you brought up Year Zero, 2
Mhm.
volumes of that, incredible. Hotel is good enough. They're bringing back another volume of that. Chariot just struck a deal with, I think it was Warner Brothers. They're making a movie or a TV show, one or the other. And these series are so under the radar. We got, I think it's called American Ronin. Just
That's one of the other ones that didn't land for me. But there's very few AWA books that aren't, and it's not for me. That book has a very like strong 80s flavor. It feels very old school, and I'm a
I can
very
agree with that.
modern person. American Ronin was it was a lot. Like I can't believe it was only 5 issues. It felt like a 10-issue story crammed into 5 issues. There was like a lot of world in there.
All
Not
right,
for me,
super.
but it's good.
All right, super quick. We got the box outside. All right, I slightly take back my last comment. He said, "AR, I think your feelings towards Nick Spencer aren't.
Oh,
It's not for me.
hold on. What?
It's the Amazing Spider-Man run, not Nick Spencer. That
Okay.
Amazing Spider-Man run. I'll die on this hill. I did not like that at all. I
You didn't like any part of the run, or just the
No,
ending, or
I didn't like any of it. I felt very cheated, led on. Just issue 1, we got introduced to Kindred. All right, cool. We don't know his name, but we got this cool new villain. I'm about it. I'm reading a little bit, wasn't bad. Then we got into the Hunted story arc. Yeah, I didn't really like it either.
yeah.
Then I think it was issue 24. We learned Kindred's name. I'm like, all
All
right,
right.
24 issues later, we got his name. We don't know anything else, but we got it. And then out of nowhere, nothing happens. We hit the 30s. We hit the 40s. These arcs, it's still nothing. We hit the 50s. The last remains is finally here. It's all coming to an end. That's what they're saying. This is it. The end of Kindred. We get the identity. We get this. No, we don't. No, they're going to keep
Turns
going
out
with this
it's
crap.
2 people. Like,
Yeah. And I actually stopped reading at the end of that arc. I said, you know
okay.
what? This is a wrap. I can't keep doing this to myself. I'm truly just not enjoying it.
I I really love one of the earliest videos that Tom and I did together back when in the beginning of our channel. We used to do little series of videos where we would take a story arc and issue by issue make a video kind of going through the story of it. And one of the first trades that we did for that was oh my goodness, the Ant-Man, Astonishing Ant-Man by Nick Spencer, which was to this day remains like one of my favorite Marvel stories. Is hilarious, and I had such a good time reading that when I heard that he was starting an Amazing Spider-Man run, that I jumped onto that book. And so I appreciate the humor elements of his Spider-Man run. For me, what I loved about the Nick Spencer Spider-Man was, and it's very specific, and it was very early on. They kind of dropped this element maybe halfway through, but there were all the scenes of him at home living with Boomerang, who was his roommate, and all of like the banter they got in with each other about like him playing Call of Duty at 3 a.m. really loud with giant speakers, like just being the worst roommate ever. Like I loved watching the two of them like struggle to live together. It's a very weird thing to praise about a comic, and I do think he bungled the whole Kindred thing. But at the beginning, before you knew that it was gonna suck, and before you knew that like before they completely ruined it. I liked the buildup and the mystery of like not knowing who Kindred was and how he would kind of like creep in and out of the background of a lot of issues. And I think he was drawn really well. I really liked all the Ryan Otley artwork at the beginning.
Oh, Otley killed it.
I loved the early run of Spider-Man, but I think by the end it totally lost me. And I was very excited for it to be done. I was worried actually with the Mortal Hulk, like how they had that giant size final issue, and that book was awful. Like the last issue of Spider-Man, it's just like we're done. Here's a giant book. Let's wrap it up.
That's it's one of those things. I mean, he kept it going for so long, the
Yeah,
same character for so long. And I actually, that's one thing I do appreciate about the early, like you talk about the earlier side of the run, is he is just in the background. He's still pulling some strings. He's trying to set some stuff up. And I think that's what actually did keep me interested to an extent, because I did want to know. I want to know who this is. I want to know what the motives are. They keep talking about, like Peter Parker, you're going to learn, or your sins or whatever. And it's like, all right, man, I'm about it.
He's clearly somebody who knows Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Like, you don't, they give you a lot of like hints at who it is. And like, if he had like wrapped it up and then maybe went to a second villain or something at the back half of the story arc. But even like all of there was the Hunted Craven storyline didn't do it for me. He went to 2099 for a while, didn't do it for me. There was like Absolute Carnage and tie-ins, and overall it was a bad run. I would agree. But I think Nick Spencer as a writer, I think, has more credit. I also really appreciated his Secret Empire and his Captain America stuff that everybody hated.
I was going to say a lot of people did not like that.
I like it. But again, like Superman, I have a soft spot for Captain America too. Like the Boy Scout types. We talked about Captain America earlier today when you asked if that was a run worth reading.
I don't think I'm going to start it until the second volume comes out.
It's all done, right?
Yeah, it finished up. I think volume 2 hardcover comes out March of this coming year. So I can hold off a little bit for it. I saw a good deal for it. It was like $15 free shipping. So it's brand new. Can't argue with that.
It's not the best run I've ever read. I wouldn't say it's like one of the great Captain America stories, but it's worth. I liked it. I had fun reading that one. But I think for Captain America, you got to go Ed Brubaker.
I can totally agree with that. Have you read the newest? Not the Captain America that run, the other run that's about to wrap up, the 5-issue mini run.
Yeah, I'm on that.
How do you feel about that?
It's fine. I like knowing that it's going to end. Again, like I like stories that have a finite ending. And the fact that it's 5-issue, that there are 5 standalone issues, and they're meeting like a different kind of underground, do-it-yourself Captain America, like in various spots around the country. I think it's a cool premise. That. Yeah, I'm glad that it's so short though. I don't think it could sustain itself for very long, and some of them aren't as cool as some of the other ones. And I think these characters are more interesting than Steve Rogers and Falcon, and like the actual main Captain America characters aren't as interesting to me right now as these new Captains America. I don't know the plural.
I agree. I think it's a pretty unique story. I think they're doing a great job with it. I'd say the main plot is all right. I like how it's a
little thin.
Yeah, I agree with that. But the introduction of the other Captain America, and then how that new Captain America is kind of intertwined with the city that they're in or the town.
Yep.
And then they give a little backstory, like a little secondary story of how that character kind of came about. I think that's great.
It's a cool idea. A lot of
people who hate it though.
Yeah, but people apparently just love to hate stuff, I guess. It's kind of fun. I hated Squid Games for like a month, and then I finally started watching that, and it was cool. So like I understand the kind of the appeal of just being the guy who don't like it. I will not watch it. I will not read it. I want it to stay Steve Rogers forever. Like zero. Like back when when Sam Wilson became Captain America, and everybody was up in arms about that, and like, it's not going to last forever, and it was just a cool little like fresh way to tell the story.
I agree.
You got to roll with the punches with comics.
It's always changing, It's not always going to be that way. Either keep going or don't.
And especially with superheroes, it's always going to go back to the main, like, Peter Parker's always going to be Spider-Man, even though Ben Reilly is like, oh, maybe the clone Spider-Man is going to take over, but it's going to go back. He's going to be fine eventually. Yep.
That's honestly where I'm at with this series right now. It's like 3 times a month. That's kind of a lot.
I dropped it. Yeah.
Did you read it though?
After Nick Spencer's run, I dropped it. But since we've gotten so many damages, we have a whole bunch of like unsellable copies. So I flipped through the ones that we have. I'm current on Spider-Man right now, and it's really good.
I'm gonna be honest. I agree. I don't want to like it, but I do.
Exactly. I was kind of spidered out after this last run that we just talked about, but it's good. I don't know anything about the Clone Saga or Ben Reilly or any of this, so I'm coming in completely cold. I haven't read that, and I know that's like one of the least popular Spider-Man stories ever, basically.
Damn, so I feel like I'm just like falling into place with all of these, everyone thinks this. I was going to say, personally, I'm not a big fan of the clone stuff. I'm really not. And then you said that first, I was like, damn it, another one.
I never read it. I mean, I heard it's bad. I mean, I would like to read it. I just don't have time, and I know I probably won't. Like, I don't read a lot of 90s stuff specifically. Like, it's my least favorite era of comics.
Yeah.
And I don't, it's just so cringy when he's got that weird like hoodie and stuff. And like, it sounds confusing. And
It's
they,
not
yeah,
that good.
they do a pretty good job of like filling in, like, you know, they don't go overboard. It's like, hey, Ben Reilly is a clone of Spider-Man who's just kind of there. And he's like got the official license to be Spider-Man. And that's just it. They don't like waste a lot of time over explaining stuff.
Yeah. Do you read X-Men at all?
No. I
Cool.
have a pretty hard like no mutants policy.
Cool. We agree with that
Especially
one.
especially no Wolverine policy. Like
You don't like Wolverine at all?
I really don't like Wolverine. I think he works well as part of the team, as like one of the X-Men with, you know, a functioning team around him, but the movies especially fell into the trap of like the Hugh Jackman show starring all the other X-Men, and like he's cool, and you know it's obvious why he stands out, and he's got claws and a badass attitude, and like the cartoon growing up, like I loved that when I was little, but for me I was drawn to Cyclops. He was always my dude when I was growing up, and I thought the movies especially did him dirty. Like they made him into the biggest asshole loser, and like it's so confusing. I read House of X and Powers of 10 when that came out, and I loved it. But
that's the last X-Men stuff I read, and I
so
agree. I actually really liked it.
We're on the exact same page then. I am actually getting the Dawn of X, like collected trades that kind of get one issue of each of the little different X series that are going on. I have like the first 14 volumes of that on Comixology, but I haven't started yet because I know once I start that, I'm going to want to like crunch it and like binge the whole series all at once. And I'm looking forward to it. I don't.
It's too much.
It's a lot. And I got to wait till I'm like stuck on a plane or something and just have nothing else to do.
So when I started, you know, like House and Powers of X, you know, I got to my shop and I told them, they know I don't like X-Men. They know I don't really read that stuff. And they were like, just give it a shot. It's like, all right, gave it a shot. And I was like, yo, this is really good. And it led obviously into the next event, stuff like that. And I was like, well, what's next? Oh man, well, we got Excalibur, Marauders, X-Men. And I'm like, hold on. I was like, what do I need to read?
Pass.
They all tie into each other. Oh, are you kidding me? I gotta read 5-6 different series to get the story.
If that was the only thing I was getting, like I could do that if that was all.
Yeah.
Like if I was just an X person, and they do exist, but I can't do it. Like,
I mean, writing teacher X-Men.
I do love Astonishing X-Men by Joss Whedon. I think
I did read that. I read the first volume.
Yeah, it didn't go on for very long. I don't know how long. I had it in one hardcover back in the day. There was like a 1-volume hardcover of the whole run. And to me, that's like my perfect X-Men story. And I think it's like Superman also, where like it depends on the writer, and it's easy to write a bad X-Men story because there's just so many different mutants and so many new twists always pop up into like the canon, and you never know like where to start with X-Men specifically. It's very tough.
That's my problem.
It's
all over the place. But I agree with Astonishing. You know, it's a series that begins and then it ended. And I can pick that up, I can read that, and I can enjoy that.
Yep.
But when you have X Factor go to issue 200, and then you've got other X-Men series that are 200, 300, 400 deep, it's, well, now I just have to be reading a single story, like a single story arc, but that's not the way people do it. You got to read it all. You got to really get the knowledge on it.
And X-Men also is something I'm just now realizing, I think, is like the golden age of X-Men, I guess, is like the 90s era when you had the new X-Men 1 and you had like New Mutants and like it was like peak Rob Liefeld stuff, and it's like just the emblem of everything I dislike about 90s comics in particular is like there on display with like Cable and Deadpool and all that 90s X-Men stuff, and just big fights for no reason. And like there's something about like modern writing that like hits different. And back then it seemed like it was all, you know, let's draw the coolest splash pages we can, and like look at this guy's big gun, and like
it's like a big Michael Bay scene.
Yeah, but there's no like depth to it, and like I'm into it for the story.
I agree, and I think that's why, you know, we at least agree with, you know, Nice House on the Lake, Something's Killing the Children, those stories. It's I was gonna say maybe in the beginning, not even Something is Killing the Children. That's like face value is what it is. These monsters show up to town, but this newest volume, they have really gone into depth. Like,
Yeah.
we're getting a hell of a story, and that's leading in the House of Slaughter. It's going to be solid. But Department of Truth, oh my God, that I still think my favorite issue of that is one of them that doesn't even have to do with the main story. It was that one little in between arc.
The aliens.
Yes, the alien one. That was
Oh, man.
incredible. That was the best issue,
Yep.
in my opinion. I loved it.
Yeah, we're on the same page there. The tinfoil and
yes,
that issue scared me.
That was incredible. And then it led into, what they were talking about in the beginning. And I was like, this was it. This was the best issue.
I don't know what James Tynion is doing. I feel like he's doing some kind of like magical mushrooms that make you just write perfect books. Like, I don't know how he can do 3 of like the best comics in existence at the same exact time and like balance it all and also be writing like the Batman book at, on the side, basically, which any other writer that would be your main focus. Like, oh my God, I'm writing Batman. I gotta make sure I'm handling this right. And he's just like, yeah, Batman and Joker is, it's this other thing I'm doing too, on top of like the 3 most popular comics in existence. Like
I still think about it. Like, it does blow my mind. Just, something that's killing children popped off. Department of Truth popped off. And then all of a sudden it's, and Batman too.
Have you read Memetic?
No.
From him? This is one of his like earlier books that he wrote. Comic Tom turned me onto this book, but it is an early James Tynion book. I think 2015, 2014. It's a standalone, it's like one-shot graphic novel. Terrifying. This is like, go track this one down. Like, really? There's a lot of actually, you can see, especially after reading Nice House on the Lake, and you go back and read this, he's clearly working with, this is like the prototype version of Nice House on the Lake. Yeah, there's like a lot of the same, like, oh shit, like moments. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear. But,
I don't care. You say whatever you want. Can I see some artwork on that?
Yeah.
Let's see if I can get you bigger on the screen super quick.
I don't want to spoil it, but it's about,
it got pretty big.
It's about a meme.
I was gonna say, I recognize the front.
It's about a meme of this like sloth, and when you look at it, it drives you crazy. So it's got a little bit of Last Book You'll Ever Read in here too. Did you read that?
That's an awesome one.
Yeah, and now that I'm talking about it, I'm realizing like there's something similar there too.
That's like Colin Bunn.
Yeah, that's a good point. Which is why it's frustrating that I don't like Basilisk more, because I really like Cullen Bunn, at least based on a few things of his that I've read. I really like Harrow County. Harrow County hits me.
I think that may have. I'm just shooting ideas out here. I think that might be why it turned you off, is because you didn't know where the story was going, and is it supposed to end? Is it going to be ongoing? And now you're reading it, maybe thinking, all right, well, if they're ending it, this isn't going to be a good ending, or they're setting it up. Where are we going with it? I feel that way reading some books, personally.
Especially in Basilisk, there's like 5 people with powers in that book from some kind of mysterious experiment, and one of them just died, which feels like a pretty big like event to happen. Like, I don't know how long they're going to carry this book on, and it feels like it's moving quickly enough that should end soon, but also it's not moving quick enough that I still don't know what's going to happen or where it's going or what the plot really is. I'm not invested in the way that I want to be.
I feel you though. I really do.
He writes so many different kinds of stories though. I like him because of that. And Harrow County is like this weird, like kind of sentimental, like Southern ghost story. And then you've got Bite-Sized, which is completely different than anything else. And then Last Book You'll Ever Read, I honestly forgot that was Cullen Bunn. And he's one of those people that when I see his name attached, I'm like, that's why I got Basilisk. It's like, oh, Cullen Bunn. Okay, I know I like him. He's not in my favorites like that. He might be in my top 10 or 15 maybe if I raise the list. But that's harsh. Probably top 10. He's probably in my top 10 somewhere.
I think that's why I ranked him so high on my list, is, his range. It's not, and I know we talked about this with, Nerd King that was on last time. James Tynion, what he's going to write. It's going to be a banger. It's probably going to have some little horror theme, maybe a creepy theme, but he kills it on that. It's perfect every time. Cullen Bunn, you don't know what the hell is coming out. his range is just all over the place. Like you said, he got bite size. It's like a weird children's fun robot thing. And
Yeah,
then last book you'll ever read, it's satanic
not
and
a children's
crazy.
book.
Yeah, complete opposite.
Yeah, especially those like black bag naughty variants that I'm picking up for that book. That is not a kid's book at all.
I grabbed one, but I didn't open it out of the poly bag, so I don't even know what the cover looks like.
I can send you some pictures if you want. It's graphic.
Is it? That's what those are?
Yeah, well, issue 2 was kind of not very graphic, I guess. The first and the third one have like sex acts depicted on the cover, but the second one is just a nude person. Definitely worthy of a black bag, but
Cool.
not as graphic.
Oh, maybe I'll pop mine out. We'll see how it goes.
I felt bad opening. I don't get a lot of stuff in poly bags, and like cracking it open, I felt like that little collector side of me was like, oh no, it's
That's
worthless now.
That's how I feel with it. I'm like, I can't do it. I need to
Yeah.
keep it as is.
Maybe one day when they make the movie, I'll regret it, you know. And I sold my, I opened my bag, and now I can't sell it because it's worthless.
As of now, that would be a crazy movie or a TV show.
I would prefer a movie because I feel like the story is quick enough. Yeah, but it would be really cool. And that book especially is like escalates. Like,
yes, it's like each issue we're getting exactly what we want. You know, the first issue sets it up. Second issue expands on it just a little bit. And then the third issue for me, I was like, you know what? I want to know more about this main character. Bang.
Yep.
Learned.
So I don't really know what the next one's going to look like, which is fun.
Yeah.
And that's
I don't know where that one's going to be going.
Which is good. I'm into it. I'm there for it.
But these episodes usually last an hour. I know you were at work all day. I know that you just picked up a big ass collection.
I'm good.
And we're coming up on an hour and a half. So these last couple minutes, I saw some people putting some questions off to the side. At this time, if you're cool with it, if you feel like answering anybody's questions that they might have,
I'm good, man. Like I know if you want to keep it to an hour, then we might want to wrap up. But
I keep them to an hour just for the guest that always comes on, because I know
that's true.
It's always time schedules.
Maybe if I was having less fun, I'd be like, yeah, I gotta go, or I'm busy. But it's good. It's a good talk.
That was good talk. I appreciate you coming on. But seriously, at this time, any of you guys have any questions, hit us up in the chat. I'll put it up on the screen. I know we got Explosion Gaming right now. Looks like a little bit of both. But what are your guys' thoughts on Scott Snyder and his different types of comics and styles, along with his deal on Comixology? Now, I don't know Comixology well. I don't know about that deal. I do know he's doing a great job on Undiscovered Country, though. I am loving that series. Okay. Fantastic series.
Nobody's talking about that anymore.
And they should be. It keeps getting better. Although this arc, I think, is okay.
I don't know if I would say it keeps getting better, but I like it a lot more than Nocterra, which is maybe a hot take. But
Nocterra has potential.
I'm also Tom and I are gonna also talk about Nocterra, so I'm trying to formulate thoughts about that run. But I have a very specific I don't know if complaint is the right word, because I don't want to complain about Scott Snyder because he's near and dear to my heart. Like, he wrote Court of Owls and New 52.
He's Batman for you.
New 52 is what brought me into like collecting like single issues, and that was my first time going into a shop and buying stuff off the shelf and setting up a pull list. So like the New 52 with DC has like a spot in my heart, and especially his Swamp Thing run is a little underrated and pretty solid. But Nocterra, every issue, it bugs me because it's like he's copying pasting. Like, he's got a template. Like, each issue starts with the narration and like a flashback, and the main character is telling like a story, and she's using a metaphor from this flashback to kind of comment on what's happening in the current issue. And then at the very end, she will tie it back into the story she was telling at the beginning. And it's a weird kind of like way of structuring the story that, for me, especially when I read multiple issues, it like sticks out like a sore thumb to me, and it kind of irritates me. And I was willing to write it off as just like a quirk of the main character of Nocterra, but I just recently read the first issue of his new series on Comixology with Greg Capullo. I can't remember what it's called. It's about like demons or something. It's kind of like got a Buffy the Vampire Slayer sort of vibe. and there's the exact same thing happens in that book. Like it's got the narration from the main character, and she's telling a story, and I don't know. I don't know why it bugs me, but it bugs me, and like it shouldn't.
The way I thought that was going to go, so like that narration in the beginning where they're kind of going, back, kind of saying like what led them to where they are. I thought in the beginning that was going to kind of be one of those situations where they're telling a story in the beginning, and then eventually what she's telling us is going to catch up to the real story and like kind of give us like present time.
Yeah,
But that never happened.
it's always just it's in the one issue, and it's a way to like bookend the front and back of the issue, and I don't like it every single issue. I guess to put it that way.
I can agree with that.
It's a weird complaint, but I love Scott Snyder, and I really love Undiscovered Country.
That is a great series. Needs more love. Go check it out if you guys haven't read it already. This one really isn't a question, but this is really awesome, though. Guys, with someone whose friends and family members don't give a damn about comic books, I really appreciate these live videos. Well, we appreciate you hanging out in the chat, and this mainly, this is only happening because we got Ryan on. So this is a big thank you to him. Really do appreciate you coming on and hanging out with us.
It's fun.
And we got Tessa is a Nerd now. Favorite book on your shelf behind you?
I'll let you go first.
All right. To be honest, I think The Walking Dead is, I don't know, maybe I'm in the minority for this one. I think that's actually one of my favorite reads, like of all time. I think I read all 4 of those compendiums in a 3-week time span. I love it. I'd say towards the end, it definitely dropped off, but I was reading that's because he didn't want to make another compendium, so he just kind of finished it. I mean, I don't know, but it's still overall fantastic.
For me, I thought, well, I recently, it was about a year ago now, but I went back and read the whole thing all at once too. For me, it picked up a bit near the end. Like I lulled maybe like the 3rd compendium. Like I don't know exactly what happened, but at the very end when they picked up with like the whispers, and I knew it was ending, and it was building towards a conclusion. I liked the ending, but for me, the peak of Walking Dead is the beginning up through the end of the prison and the Woodbury stuff with the governor and everything. For me, I would end there. Like that's the TV show also, and the book. I think. Oh no, the TV show did some really good stuff with Woodbury and with Negan too. I don't know. I just like the early Walking Dead. A lot
earlier was better than later, but
yeah.
At the time, I think that was my favorite. I'm not gonna lie though, Berserk. Oh my god, I've never read a manga before. It is incredible. That I lied. That's probably my favorite thing that I've read so far, and that's not even a comic book.
I've heard good things. I've only dabbled with Junji Ito's mangas. I really like Uzumaki.
Oh my god! When you brought up that one book and it was the sloth with the spiral on it,
right?
I think I could see that. Took it home.
They're similar. They're both about spirals.
You mentioned the thing where it's like you can't stare at it. I was thinking in my head, I was like, I don't know what that one manga is called, but I finished it, and it's that.
Yep.
I thought that was a weird story, though. The beginning is way better than the end.
It's very weird. Like, very weird. Very manga horror stuff, but it's cool. But again, this is really all I really like horror. So if a horror thing is a good way to get me to try something new, like a foreign movie or something, I will watch it more if it's a scary movie versus, like an Italian love story or something. I won't watch that. But if it's like an old classic, like Italian horror film, it's like, okay, whatever. I'll try it. I like getting scared. But favorite comic for me is probably one of my absolutes. And those are all on the bottom shelf because these are very flimsy shelves. And I used to have my absolutes on the shelf, and it was a ticking time bomb. Like,
I can only imagine.
Absolute Scarlet is probably the favorite book I have. I really like Scarlet from Brian Michael Bendis. It's a political book. It's a recent one that I found about a girl in Portland whose boyfriend gets killed by like a corrupt cop, and she just kind of goes berserk and like starts a revolution, like a literal revolution against the government. It's heavy. It's a cool book though.
That sounds pretty cool. I might need to keep my eyes open for that one.
I like it, and it's got an absolute. So I had to lock that down.
Next up, we got that's pretty cool. Box Outside. Picked it up because I saw it behind it. I'm gonna be honest. I picked it up because of Gem Mint.
he's I was gonna say him. He's the other person I've seen who's like really fell in love with that book, and every time I've noticed it since then, everybody has said like this book is cool.
Yeah, it's completely legit. I think I got the first volume. I kept seeing him talk about it. You know, he's got his statues. I read the first volume in one sitting and I was like, oh, here we go. I bought the next 3 or 4 right off the bat. I read them all pretty much in one sitting, and it's consistently good. There's no like down point in it. It just keeps getting better. Next up, we got Our Comics. Ryan, you're not reading X books right now, but what about X books or any book that has great art? Pepe Larraz comes to mind, if I said that right.
He's doing the art on the current X-Men book right now, right? With the new X-Men team that's only like 4 or 5 issues in.
I'm not sure.
I know he's a good artist. He's relatively new, I think. But we talked about Astonishing X-Men before, and that still gets my vote as like best for me, like best standalone.
I sadly never finished it. I liked the first half of what I read. It kind of sucks, but I'd obviously have to go with House and Powers of X because that's the one complete thing that I truly read. And I mean, I can recommend that. I'd say as a new reader jumping in, I thought that was a good thing. There were some spots that I really didn't know what was happening, but I mean, you can pick things up. You can check it out.
I think Astonishing might be a little more new reader friendly. Like there's like, especially with like Moira McTaggart and like all her lives that she goes through in Powers. Like
that was a big confusion point for me.
It was so cool though, and like how it jumped forward like 1,000 years and 10,000 years, and like all the different timelines in that book. It's cool, but it's dense and complicated. It's very, very Hickman, and as a result, it might be a little tough for a beginner, but it's so good. I only don't recommend it because it's so intense.
Are you a Hickman fan, like in general? Yeah.
Just based off of his Fantastic Four run and his New Avengers run, especially. I really liked those.
I appreciate the things that he does where he truly develops a story. Like it's not just whatever's in front of you is in front of you. No, there is a lot going on. I really didn't like his East of West though.
I haven't read that.
It started off incredible, but it's typical, in my opinion, like typical Hickman. It starts going in all these different directions and all this crazy stuff starts happening. But it had a nice, satisfying ending, I thought. But
I
overall,
need to try it. I haven't read much of his, only the superhero stuff really at Marvel. But I know that when he's doing a comic, you have to like you're signing up for like a long haul kind of series. Yeah. You don't just want to like jump in and like expect answers right away or expect it to even understand what's happening right away. I'm kind of getting the same feeling right now from the Eternals book at Marvel. Like, I don't know if you're reading that.
I actually stopped after I think the second issue.
Yeah, it feels very Hickman, and I'm hoping that it will eventually start to like coalesce and make sense and come together. But right now, it's maybe my least favorite book on my pull list. One of them.
Yeah, after those first couple issues, I thought, ooh, I don't know about this one.
Yeah, I'm hoping it comes together, but
I'm sure it will at some point.
It's just not Hickman.
Now, I don't know if you're, other than that manga, also anime, but we got apparently Attack on Titan manga is great. I watched some of the show. I think I have to go back and rewatch it. It starts off like wild.
Yeah.
But it kind of, I don't know.
It was a little much for me.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. But I don't know. I would like to read the mangas. I know they have those big, I think, library editions, they might call them. Like $50.
I love those.
It's cool. It's paperback though, so one of those things. I know. Big, massive paperback book. And then we got more Junji Ito. Oh, Junji Ito. Wow, I slurred that whole thing the first time.
I've only read these 2 books of his though, Gyo and Uzumaki, and they're both fantastic. So
I only read Uzumaki.
Yeah. Gyo's trippy about like animals in the ocean, like growing legs and coming onto Earth and like attacking humans. Like there's a sequence in that book with like a shark, a great white shark, like walking around on little spindly legs like a spider, kind of like chasing this couple through their house. And it's like, I feel like in a movie or something, it would be like almost laughable and silly, but like on the page, it's like, oh my God, this is like terrifying. Like a shark chasing you when you think you're safe on land. It's nuts.
That's how I felt about that Spiral book. The one chapter where they started turning into snails or something.
Yeah.
It got so weird.
it's almost like an ice cream man, kind of like, just what is happening?
I
Like,
like that comparison.
yeah, it's like, oh, I remember there's one issue when they're like, everyone's like in this one house and they're like morphed together into like one big ball of a person, and it's just so many
Oh,
weird
towards the end.
ideas. I don't even remember when it happens. I need to go back and read it again. It's been a while, but
Yeah, it's so weird. Towards the end when they realize they can't leave the whole town and the
yeah,
buildings start to kind of come together. There's like few buildings that never got knocked down and people started hoarding in them and they became just one massive mush of human. Yeah, it's a weird story.
yeah, not for everyone, but it's a good time.
As soon as I finished it and I closed the book, I was like, I don't know what I read. My girlfriend's like, "Did you like it?"
Oh,
I don't know. I have
need to
no
read
idea if I liked it.
need to read some simple like Spider-Man or something after this to kind of like ground me. That was nuts.
But as far as Attack on Titan, final season this Christmas, he thinks. So well, check it out eventually. But if those are all of the questions, I don't want to take up any more of your time. We have officially gone for about an hour and 40 minutes, the longest one we've done so far.
Champion, that's me.
So thank you so much for coming on. Thank you, chat, for hanging out tonight. I really had a great time talking to you, Ryan.
Likewise.
Everything that he has is on the description. His link tree is there. So you check out his Instagram, check out his YouTube. He said he's definitely going to be doing more YouTube. I put words in his mouth, but
You can do that. That's fair. I don't really do anything on my YouTube channel, especially lately, but I'm gonna try. I'm making the effort to like start producing my own stuff. We'll see how that goes though.
keep me posted. But either way, Comic Tom, he's going to be on his channel. Obviously, they do stuff all the time. Be on the lookout for more content with that. You said you're going to be filming a video tomorrow with him.
Oh no, not with Tom though.
Oh, not.
I do a live stream every Friday on
Oh, it's the
Will.
bearded.
Yep.
Sorry about that.
That's
But
more of like what we're talking about here. We just pick like 7-ish books every single week that come out, and we have a round table panel discussion about them. So it's a
and
fun time.
whose channel is that on? Is that Bearded Comics?
It's on Will to Beast Fitness. You can
So,
find it on my Instagram or something. There's underscores and all that. I don't remember exactly what the what the name is, but
well, go find that. Go catch them live
exactly.
tomorrow. And as I said before, I really do appreciate you coming on here. I know you had a very busy day. You had a lot of stuff going on. And I mean, we've been hanging out for almost an hour and 42 minutes. It really does mean a lot. And we talked some good comics tonight.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Cool. And on that note, everybody, like I said, go check out the description, go follow him on everything, and stay tuned for more content. And have a good night.